All right, we're live and we're live. I'm live on YouTube and live on Instagram. Um, One of the reasons I wanted to hop on here today was got a couple things going on. Number one, I was on Joe Rogan's podcast. I want to share with you guys some of the experience I had there. First and foremost, I want to kind of point out something I said on the podcast, and it was in regards to my brother Chris. And I basically talked about how proud I am of him and things of that nature, and said, my brother is now, I think he's about 4 years sober. I'm super proud of him for that. Hey, what's up, CT Fletcher? I see you on there. CT Fletcher giving a shout out to my pops. Those two old birds are best of buddies. They communicate with each other quite a bit. Good luck to you, my man. Good luck to you, CT. Anyway, I was talking about my bro, and I was talking about how proud I am of him, and what I'm proud of is change. Because it's really hard to change who or what you are. It's hard to. Sometimes people will say, "Oh man, I don't like that guy, man. He really changed," and they usually don't say it about people that like changed for the worse. They usually say it about people that like kind of changed for the better. Like, man, I don't like that guy because he lost a bunch of weight, or I don't like that girl because she did this or did that. Now, sometimes people go a little overboard with what they're doing, but anyway, in my brother's case, I'm really proud of him because change, as we all know, part of the biggest problem with trying to make any sort of change is we're just scared. We're scared of the unknown. We're scared of things that we have never tried before. We're, as lifters, we're these big, strong guys, and we're supposed to be able to handle anything and everything. And change is a real bitch. And the pain of change, while it may be painful, nothing is worse than staying the same. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And so you're going to have to figure out ways of changing and ways of reinventing yourself and ways of having different goals at different times in your life. For myself, I'm going through some changes too. That's where you should kick in that Ozzy Osbourne song, I'm going. No, I won't sing it because I'll sing it a lot better than he does. But anyway, yeah, I'm going through a lot of changes myself. I'm switching gears, and some people will look at my Instagram and be like, why is he showing a video of him squatting 225? Well, it's not any different than me showing you videos of me squatting 900 back in the day. It just happens to be what the fuck I'm doing now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm making some changes. I'm moving. I'm sticking and moving and getting into other things. I think a big problem is a lot of people get stuck. A lot of people get stuck in what they do, and something that we saw Joe Rogan do is not get stuck. We saw Joe Rogan, as we went into his warehouse, and my brother and I had the pleasure of being on his podcast, and we saw that Joe is quick. He's just fast. He's just fucking flying around. He doesn't like meander from room to room. He's not walking at a slow pace. He's walking with a purpose. Kind of walks the way Stone Cold Steve Austin walks to the ring. He kind of just does that 24/7. It's because the guy's got shit to do. He's got things to do. He's got business to attend to, and he wanted to get us in the podcast room, and he wanted to chat with us for 3 hours, which I thought was really cool. So I'm super proud of my brother for being able to make those changes. Now let me just kind of back things up a little bit and talk about, I'm going to back things up a lot of bit. Okay, we'll back it up all the way to when I was around 11, 12 years old. At that age, we had some weights in our basement, and I'd kind of play around with the weights here and there. Yeah, I'd mess around with them, throw them around just like any little kid, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And I remember at that point, at that age, like nutrition starts to get into your own hands. You have the ability to open up packages and do all these different things and make decisions for yourself. And you get to go over friends' houses and eat whatever you want. And so, at that age, you're more free in terms of what you eat. And so I started getting heavier and stuff, and I didn't really like that. And I was like, what's going on, man? I'm starting to have some boobs here. I got a little bit of a belly, and I got some boobs, and that ain't cool. And as I was going through that process, I was like, well, you know, people that like work out, they look good, and we got weights downstairs, so I'll start messing around with some of that. So, you know, I did. I started kind of playing around with some weights. Well, my brother was kind of, you know, he basically said, hey, you know, you're not going to get any real results just lifting by yourself. You know, you need to, you don't know what you're doing. You need more knowledge, and you need to lift with people that have more knowledge than you. And, you know, really, if you think about Super Training Gym, that's what Super Training Gym is all about, is we're all about the trading of knowledge, you know, learning from each other and things of that nature. And so, you know, that was implanted in me at a very young age, and I started training, and my brother started showing me what to do. My brother started taking me to gyms. My brother took me under his wing, and my brother showed me the benefits of training and the benefits of hard work. Had my brother not done that, I don't know if I would really know the value of hard work, because the place where I learned the value of hard work the best was not like on some construction job or anything like that. It was in the gym. It was inside the gym is where I learned and created better and stronger habits for myself. And that's what, you know, later what allowed any of the success I've ever had has come from me having good, strong habits to rely upon, and for me having a decent amount of willpower. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit. But back to the focus being on my bro. I remember when I was a kid, he used to take me to parties, and I was probably like 15 or something like that, and he's probably like 18 or somewhere in that range. I mean, he's 3-4 years older than me, and maybe he shouldn't have been taking me some of these high school parties. I don't know, but I didn't look at it as a negative. I looked at it as a positive. The fact that he wanted to hang out with his little bro in the first place was kind of cool. And part of the reason I was able to hang out with these older people was, again, because I was in the gym. And because I was in the gym, I was hanging around these older people, and I was already, you know, sometimes younger kids can be annoying. And you're like, well, this kid's not funny. This kid's kind of stupid. Like, he doesn't know what we're talking about. He doesn't know about this or that. And so for me, I was quiet. I always did my work, and I always trained hard. And so people just, my brother's friends, they usually liked me, even though they'd pick on me and call me vinegar butt and smelly and every other name under the bus. I did say vinegar butt. We won't go back to that. Gonna keep chugging along here and pretend that nothing happened. If you want to keep following us, I'm gonna drop this off on IG right now, and we're going over to powerproject.live. That's where you can check it out. If you want to check it out some other time, you can also just go to iTunes and check it out on Mark Bell's Powercast. Bye. Don't worry, I'm still staying here. Everybody stay. Everybody stay. So when I'd go to these parties with my brother never engaged in drinking. I never saw him drink in front of me. Now, high school party, there's tons of alcohol there. There's tons of marijuana there, right? If my mom's listening, she just went, what? Oh, dear God.
She won't believe you.
Yeah, oh, dear God, no, honey. No. She'll be like, what the heck? Anyway, I never saw my brother drink, and I don't know if he like deliberately, you know, wasn't drinking because of me, or if it was just his own thing, or what it was. But that had a huge impact on me. And then my brother was also a competitive powerlifter. He competed in powerlifting. He was very strong. He squatted 675 pounds in high school. He went and competed in the USAPL, which is, he competed in the ADFPA, which is now the USAPL, getting all my letters mixed up. And so did I. And, you know, we competed and we learned about competition. My brother was the second strongest high school powerlifter in the country for his weight category when he competed. And, you know, I was learning hard work. I was seeing him not drink. I was seeing him take his training pretty seriously. We even had, you know, we didn't have great nutrition, but we even had at least some idea that powerlifters were supposed to eat big. So we kind of had an idea of like, hey, steak, whole milk, pasta, rice, things like that. Like we kind of knew that you need to kind of eat up, you know, and that would still be some of the advice I'd follow today, except for, you know, we would cut way back on foods that kind of hurt your digestion and foods that make you feel gross. And for me, it would definitely be milk, because I'm lactose intolerant, so that definitely wouldn't fly. but seeing my brother be an example like this and having my brother take me under his wing, we also did a lot of training in our basement. And my brother would show me, how to bench, how to squat, how to deadlift, all these different things. My brother Mad Dog was around at the time, but he was also quite a bit older than me, and he was about 2 years older than Chris. So it was about a I don't know, he's like 6, 7 years older than me, somewhere in that range. And so he and I, like on that level, we didn't hang out, but and he would pop in and work out with us too here and there. But he was, he was like either a senior in high school or he was going off to college. He was kind of in some of those modes, and then later on, he ended up being a professional wrestler and stuff. But I didn't really learn my actual lifting from him. I learned most of it from Chris, and I learned most of it from a guy named Chip at the Atrium in Pauling, New York. He showed me a lot of the moves: squat, bench, deadlift, bent over rows, overhead pressing, and some of the other various movements to get the main lifts up. But having a brother like this, having somebody to mentor me and give me something, because at that time I really needed this. And when I look back on it now, is the only time I can really reflect and make any sense of it and say, oh yeah, that was like a really pivotal, I'm making up words, pivotal moment in my life, because at that age, you're super sensitive. You can go one way or the other real quick.
And what age was it? I missed it.
Probably around 13,
Okay.
14, maybe as old as 15 or so. But like, someone's like, hey, dude, let's smoke some pot or whatever the hell. It's easy to go down that route and then to end up being one of those people that's just always smoking or always drinking or whatever. And so I learned from my brother that you didn't need to go to any of these parties and be drunk to have fun, because we would still do ridiculous shit. We would still have a lot of fun. And I was like, well, there's just no reason to drink. So as I got older and went to parties and stuff, I never fell down that rabbit hole. Actually, the first time, I don't think I've ever even shared this before. Can I get a hey now?
Hey now.
Yeah, and this is actually true. It's probably not true of most people, but I'd say it's definitely a little different. Not too crazy, but the first time I ever been drunk, I was around 25 years old, and it was because I got married. I got married, and my friends were like, "We're taking you out and getting you fucking drunk." In high school and at parties and stuff. Yeah, I've had a beer. I've tasted it, never liked it. I was like, that's not my thing. I'm not really going for that. And then even after that, no alcohol, none whatsoever, for many, many years. And then my wife, we broke each other down. She drank a lot, and I drank hardly anything, really nothing at the time. And over a period of time, I was like, oh, it's kind of nice to sit here and have a drink with you, as we're sitting out by our fire pit or something like that, So, nowadays, after the Joe Rogan show, I had a glass of wine. The night before, I had, some vodka. Like I'll have some drinks here and there. It's not really part of my life, though. It just happens to be, 2-3 times a week, I might have a glass. I would say, over the course of an entire week, there's weeks where I don't have any at all, and there's weeks where I have 1 or 2. But overall, it's just really super fucking low amount.
Do you think?
Question there?
Yeah, no, just for myself. Do you think all of that comes from just seeing Boar like not really need it when you guys were growing up, and that was just like ingrained in your brain, or does some of it come from maybe seeing Mad Dog kind of fall off the rails?
Yeah. So a lot of it was a lot of the starting point of like not wanting to do it was because of Chris. And then I saw my brother Mike get in trouble so much, and I saw him making so many mistakes and getting in trouble with the cops, and like, I just seen a lot of like heartache. I've seen him I just saw him like lie and do all kinds of weird stuff where I was like, man, like life seems like it'd be a lot less stressful if you didn't have to like lie to people and hide shit. And like, I know he'd like hide stuff in his room. He'd like I remember, seeing him one time, like him and his buddies like picked up some booze and then like hid it in the bushes, and then like they went inside that, like they took it out of their car and put it in the bushes so they can go inside the house just in case like mom and dad took a peek at the car and need to borrow the car or anything. And then when they drove back off, they picked it back up. It's just shit like that. Your kids, a good lesson there if you have children, like if they want to get one over on you, they will. They have more energy than we do. But yeah, seeing Mike go down the wrong path for a long time, and also like it wasn't like my oldest brother Mike. It wasn't like he took drugs and was like getting this cool benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, hey, he's like, I took this thing and I got all ripped, or I took this thing and I got a little high from it, and look how much fun I'm having. It wasn't like he was a rock star. It wasn't like taking drugs was helping with any sort of income or anything like that. It was pretty negative. Like he was like really pissed off pretty often and emotional. And I was like, man, that seems like a really rocky road. But Chris, on top of taking me to some of those parties, he would take me to a lot of our different gyms. Mid-Hudson Bodybuilding we had in Poughkeepsie, we had the Atrium and Pauling. Some people are listening to this and they're knowing what I'm talking about, which is pretty cool. I love seeing those comments. People are like, Poughkeepsie! So a lot of the other gyms that are there now, they weren't there at the time, but it was great going to these different gyms and seeing that even though I was at least somewhat aware that some of these guys may or may not be on steroids, I was aware of the fact that the strongest guy in the room was usually the guy that was working the hardest. And that was the case, and that's what I saw. And I kind of learned, the value of hard work through some of that. Obviously, seeing my dad grow up, or as I was growing up, and seeing him, go off to work, tired, mad, sad, sick, or otherwise. He was always going off to work, wearing a suit and tie every day, working for IBM. I saw him have a tireless work ethic as well. But we were on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I told my brother how proud I am of him because he was able to make this change. And I don't think people understand sometimes, unless they've had addiction in their family, unless they've been addicted to something, how awful it can be. It can be really brutal to the entire family. And more often than not, I'll get people that'll come to me like, yeah, I got a brother, or I got a cousin, or even Joe Rogan himself. On the podcast, and it's a touchy subject. Can't tell people how to live their lives, but I did allude to like, hey man, don't ever give up on anybody. And I kind of saw his eyes dilate a little bit when I said that. Not that he's given up on anybody, but that's an important thing. Is just tell people like, dude, I'm around. Whenever you make the decision that you need help, I'm here. You don't need to say anything derogatory to them because they're not in control. So you don't need to say, hey man, whenever you decide to straighten your shit up, you can come to me. They're not going to listen to that. You need to say, hey, I know, I see that you lost some control. It's my opinion that you lost some control. If you ever feel the same way, like you're out of control, you need help, I'm right here. Because a lot of these people don't even ever recognize that they lost control. So for me, I'm forever in debt to my brother, both of my brothers really. And seeing Mike make a lot of the wrong choices, seeing Chris make some of the positive choices. And because of that, as soon as my brother had a problem, at first it was kind of difficult when we first learned about Chris having some issues. We didn't know what to do about it. And I communicated with his friend Leland quite a bit. And I really didn't know exactly what was going on with him. And I'd have these late phone calls and to Leland, and we'd communicate. And 1 week he'd say Chris was doing good, and the next week he'd say he's doing bad. 2 weeks later, he'd be like, man, things are going pretty good. He's got this script in with this agency, and things are looking on up and up. And then, a week later, he's like, it didn't work out. So, he's back kind of on a bender, and it just went back and forth. And it never made any sense to me. And it also didn't sound like, I guess I don't know what alcoholism even sounds like or looks like. And I think that that's a problem too. I think what we see on TV, you know, where the guy comes home stressed out from work and has a couple of drinks and smacks his wife around is not the only version of an alcoholic that there is. There's many types. And my brother was one that would, you know, drink for 2 weeks until he almost died. He ended up in the hospital a bunch of times. And then there would be some sort of realization and depression going on where he didn't drink for a little bit, and then then it would come back, and it'd go back and forth and back and forth. I wasn't aware of how severe it was until, I got a phone call from his girlfriend at the time, Fit DJ, and Lauren called me up. I got a weird number on my phone, pretty late at night, and I was like, oh man, this gave me an eerie feeling. I was like, what is this about? And so I picked it up, and it was her. I didn't understand what she was talking about or what she was saying, but she was really upset. And I was like, holy fuck. I was like, did I just lose another brother? Like, what the, And then another side of me said, hey, hold on, calm down. You don't know what's going on yet. And so I just said, hey, hold on a second, slow down. Like, what's going on? Where's Chris? And she's like, he's inside the apartment. And I was like, okay. And he's breathing? She's like, I'm not sure. And I was like, okay, so here's the first thing we need to do. Please go inside the building and make sure that he's breathing. Let's start with that. And she was just worried he was going to hurt himself. He got really drunk. He passed out. She didn't know how to help him. It happened time and time again. Before he passed out, he was really mad at her, I guess. And so she wasn't sure what was happening. She didn't know where any of this was going. So she called me, and she goes inside the apartment. She checks on him. He's doing okay. And so I said, okay, she calls me again from the car because she just didn't want to be around it. She was just done. She's like, I've been dealing with this for months. I'm just done. I don't know what's going on. And I said, okay, please go back inside the apartment again and take his keys. And so she did that. And I said, I'm going to call you back in an hour. And so I talked to my wife, and I said, hey, what do we do? And we had a good friend of ours. I'll let her name stay anonymous. Maybe she doesn't want to be dragged into this story, but a longtime family friend, and she's been friends with my sister-in-law for a long time. And she's somebody I'm forever indebted to because she helped our family quite a bit in this situation. So I communicated with her. She had previous addiction problems, and she said, hey, you know what? He just needs to go to a treatment center, and needs to go to, I think it's called a detox center is what they call them. And basically it's a place where you go for 5 to 7 days, and they give you other drugs and supplement you with other things to help you get through this period. Now, I don't know how, I don't know the science behind all that shit, and I don't know what they give you and all that, but I didn't know what else to do. We did not know where to turn, and having one brother already die from this shit, we were like, I just don't even know where to start. So that's where we started. And, I called Lauren and said, hey, I got you a ticket. I got Chris a ticket. The reason why we got both of them a ticket, because I thought it was important for my brother to not be by himself. And I thought it was important for him to be with somebody else that can be responsible, that gets his ass to the airport on time and gets him on that plane and everything like that. So that's what we did. We flew him up. And, I was upset and stuff, but I was also a little bit excited. I was like, oh, we're going to be able to sit down with him, and we're going to be able to figure out how to rework all this stuff. And so we had an intervention with him. We sat down, we told him everything. He shared a lot of stuff that I don't think we realized. He shared that he was lonely because he did live in Los Angeles by himself. There's no other family members down there or anything. So he shared some of those things, and he basically just said that, it'd be cool if people checked on him a little bit more and stuff like that. And I never really realized that's a problem because, we don't really talk like that as dudes. And I've been down to, his area a bunch of times before that. So I didn't really know that was a thing. And then anytime the holidays came around, he was always like, I'm good. He pretended like he didn't care, but obviously he actually did. Right. And so as we fast forward through some of that part, we get him through this 7-day sobriety thing. And it's like a week or two later, he's in a treatment center in Malibu, where we were fortunate enough to get him set up there. I'm having a hard. Cliffside Malibu is the name of the place, and Cliffside Malibu is set up by a guy that my brother actually interviewed for prescription thugs. And what happened was this treatment center is like $100K a month or something like that. Like it's crazy expensive, and it's only for the elite of the elite. And some of these people get to go there for free because it's publicized all over the place. Because many famous people go there, celebrities go there, and so we were communicating with this guy Richard Tate. He's the guy that runs Cliffside Malibu, and my brother was actually the one who suggested that we give him a call. So my dad calls him up, and my dad's communicating with somebody that just works for Cliffside Malibu. He's not communicating with the owner, and the guy's giving them a rundown of how much it costs and everything. And he's like, "Oh shit!" He's like, "Well, we can't afford that." He's like, "When you get a chance, can I talk to Richard Tate?" A day or two later, we get a phone call from Richard Tate, and he says to my dad, he says, "Mr. Bell," he's like, "just drop your son off here, and we'll take care of everything else." And my dad's like, "I don't have, I'm not going to be able to pay $300,000 for him to go to your facility. So I'm just looking for some advice. Really, I don't know if you have any other alternatives." And the guy said, "No, it's on us." And he's like, I knew your son was a drug addict when he showed up here, and when he interviewed me for Prescription Thugs. I knew that he actually wasn't here for his movie. I knew he was here for himself." And we were like, holy shit, but if you're an addict, I'm sure you can spot that a little bit easier on other people. And so from there, my dad and I drove my brother down to Cliffside Malibu and, dropped him off. And as you can imagine, pretty painful. It's almost like it was weird because it's like some weird way, like dropping a kid off at like preschool for the first time. Like, you're not going to see them for a little bit, but you're also sad, that they have to go to this thing or whatever. And it felt a little bit similar to that. Then you also just had all these weird questions and weird feeling in your stomach. Like, is this going to work? Like, is this the right thing to do? Like, as a family, shouldn't we just like hang out with him and like tell him he's cool and just take care of him and just can't we figure it out? But you can't. You can't figure it out on your own, and it's not it's not something that you can. You need professionals. You need people that know what the hell they're doing. So part of the reason why I want to do this podcast today was because, after my brother and I were on Joe Rogan, I just got a huge influx of DMs, a lot of eggplants, thank you, a lot of dick pics, appreciate it. But a lot of serious stuff came through about people having addictions, because we talked quite a bit about addiction on the podcast, talked about what my brother overcame, and we talked about just food addictions, and we talked about the importance of food. And I think that food and sleep, some of these things get swept under the rug, and people are like, "Oh man, I'm an addict. I have this problem, and I can't fix it." And then you start saying, "Well, what are you doing for it?" That's like the number one question. That's at this place that you always want to start. Someone says, "Hey, my shoulder hurts. What are you doing for it? My elbow hurts. What are you doing for it? My knee hurts." That's where we always start. What are you doing about it? You trying to Are you trying anything really simple and super general and basic? Like, you're just trying to get more rest? Like, let's just say you twisted your ankle. Logical, what are you doing for it? I've been staying off my feet a little bit more. Okay, good job. Do that for a week and then figure out a way to move more so you can get more blood back into the area, right? Like, really, really sensible stuff. And when it comes to drug addiction, there are a lot of things you can do for yourself, but in the beginning, in my opinion, I'm not an expert on any of this or anything like that, but in my opinion, I think you need to kind of turn yourself over to other people when you're addicted to drugs, because I think you're kind of like a zombie. I don't think you can make decisions properly for yourself. I would say the same thing when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to people that are obese. Maybe it's not the exact same thing. Maybe the pull is not as harsh, but for some people, it seems like it is. For some people, it seems like Seems like sugar is pretty closely related to a lot of these things. And even in talking to Dr. Drew, you know, he was saying the response in the brain is similar. Not the same, but it's similar. And so we have these things that really pull on us and tug us, and these addictions. And I think we tend to place the blame all on ourselves. We're like, I can't get my shit together. I need to do this. I need to do that. Well, you can't, because you're not in control anymore. You lost control somewhere along the line. You lost control, and you can't do anything about it anymore. And so it's important to not give up on yourself, but it's important to turn it over to somebody else. And so, you know, I got one message that was really serious, and I was like, holy shit. Like I've had a few of those in the past. But they're usually like kind of after the fact. Hey man, like I went through this and you helped me through that. Now I'm here. And usually it's a message from somebody being in a better place. I had I had this one message that came through, and then soon after there was message after message after message of people needing help. And they're like, I don't know who else to turn to. And they decided to turn to me, or me and my brother. Some of them have messaged both of us. And, I just thought, oh, fuck, man, this is some crazy shit. So I wanted to get on here and talk about it, because I think that sometimes we have a tendency to look at people that are that we admire, and we're like, oh man, how'd they do it? And we're like envious, we're jealous, and we kind of say to ourselves, I don't know if I could ever figure that out. You put up a bunch of hurdles on why you can't be as good as that person. You put up a bunch of barriers and barricades to protect yourself. Like, I didn't grow up with rich parents, so I could probably never. I can't really be like that guy. I don't have the same genetics as I have the same genetics as Kevin Oak. So I'm never going to squat 832, 4 inches below parallel the way that he did. I think that's a normal human trait. Another normal human trait is to feel like shit. It's a very normal human trait to feel like shit about yourself. And the world that we're living in is doing a great job of keeping us in pain. The foods that we have surrounding us. Social media is designed to fucking hurt you. Social media is designed to hurt your feelings. It literally is designed to hurt your feelings. They hold back likes on purpose. They fucking hold them so that you get a response in your brain. You're like, that can't be... Fucking internet must be broken today, because there's only 27 likes on my last post. That does not make any sense. Come on, people. We know that I'm more popular than 27 likes and 2 comments. Give me a fucking break. It's got to be at least double that. So then what do you do? What do? You sit there and you stare at your phone. You realize that you do have a connection and that you're wrong. And so you refresh and you fucking check that shit again, and you click it again, and there's still not any more likes there. And then all of a sudden you'll see like an influx of some will come in, because if they don't ever give you a crumb, you're never going to push the button, right? And so they got to give you some sprinkles of food here and there for you to keep you excited. And this one note that came through, I don't even know where it is in this fucking mass confusion of a phone that's covered in semen. Did I say semen? Why would my phone be covered in semen, Andrew? Why did I even say that?
I don't remember getting on a boat amongst a bunch of men at sea. So I'm not 100%. Yeah, I'll let you keep going.
Anyway, something happened to my phone, and somebody else is going to have to clean it up, because this is just disgusting. But anyway, in this sea of DMs, I got a lot of serious ones. A lot of ones were just, people were just kind of, hey, good job on the show and that kind of stuff. And I've tried to respond to every single one of them, but they're still flying in, because people are still finishing up the show, because it was 3 hours long. But this one that came in particular, this guy basically was saying, he's like, at this point, my diet, my alcoholism, like all these things are just, actually, I'm sorry, this guy was, he was on painkillers. He's saying Oxycontin is ruining his life. It's ruining his marriage. He doesn't want to lose his wife. He's got kids. He doesn't want to lose all that shit. And, I just wrote him back, and I I don't know. I've never been addicted to Oxycontin, so I don't know anything about it. I've never looked at research paper on Oxycontin. I don't know the information surrounding it. I know that it's not positive. I know that much, but I can only advise people in more general terms. I can't really. I'm not a doctor in any sort of way, but what I told him was, I said, hey, I was like, you got to just tell your wife. You have to go to your wife and say, I love you. I don't want to lose you. I don't know how to keep you because I don't know how to kick these drugs, and I need your help. And I'm just going to surrender to you, and whatever you tell me that you think I need to do, I'm going to try because I need your help. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose the kids. I can't imagine, sometimes you go through a lot with somebody who's addicted to something. So if it's somebody's last straw, they might say, sayonara, buddy. But I can't imagine under normal circumstances where somebody would ever tell you, hey, you know what, you're on your own. I think that people are going to want to help you. Your significant other is going to want to figure out a way to help you and a way for your family to get things back. And as bad as you might think things are, once you talk things through, things really fucking change. I have a lot of people that are very close to me that the smallest thing made the hugest difference in their relationship. I know one person that lost about 50 pounds. It changed their relationship. It's not because they lost 50 pounds and the other person's like, oh my God, you're so hot, I can't control myself anymore. Guys, that's not the way it works. I think that's the way men thinks it works, but it doesn't work that way. A lot of times what will happen in these situations is somebody will lose weight, either the male or the female, and they'll gain momentum. Then maybe the rest of the family starts eating better. And then maybe a few other people in the family lose weight. Maybe the kids feel a little bit better. Maybe just not even losing weight. Maybe just people are feeling better. Well, there's less hate in your house. There's less garbage in your house. There's less animosity in your house. There's less fighting. This is totally off topic, but many years ago when they didn't have air conditioning, there was just a lot more fighting in people's homes. Why? Because people are fucking irritated. Can you get irritated from the foods that you eat? Can you sit there and just be all gassy and bloated and just feel like hell? Sometimes, I mean, food can literally make you pissed. Sometimes when you get hungry off of those sugary foods, then you're hangry. You're not going to really run into a lot of people that get hangry that are doing keto diet. I don't think it works the same way. I think it feels totally different. So your nutrition can play a big part of this. But what I was really shocked about when I told the guy, I said, hey, tell your wife. He's like, oh, cool. She comes home in an hour and my kids are going to be at their grandparents' house. So I'll let you know how it goes. And I was like, whoa. I was like, he just fired back at me that quick. And there was a few other people that had these terrible things happen to them. A few people were in like accidents. A couple people had just lifting injuries where they ended up on pills. Some people they don't have like a real excuse, and I think those people feel even worse. But just because you weren't in a car accident or you didn't have some tragic thing happen to you, that doesn't mean that you're numb to what's going on in the world. And stress is stress, and it will pile up. We talk a lot on here about being behind, not getting to bed on time. I'm guilty of this all the time too. I don't want to make it seem like I'm, some sort of prophet or something weird. I go to bed later than I'd like often. I wake up later than I'd like often. It happens. Even just in hanging out with Michael Hearn this week, he said, hey, this is off camera, and then proceeded to tell us about him walking down a certain aisle to get a bunch of cheat foods. Everyone cheats in their diet. Everyone does stuff that they're not proud of. We're all very guilty of it. But to think that you have control over every and all things at all times is a mistake. And we can't. Not even a fucking Shaolin monk has that much power. It's just not possible. It's not possible to be great at all things at all times. It's not possible to hold all your shit together at all times. And it's not... being addicted to drugs or alcohol doesn't mean you're a dirtbag. It doesn't mean that you don't have any willpower. Again, you're in a position that you don't have any control over anymore. And I think something similar that could be said about people that get really overweight can probably be said about people that are addicted to drugs. maybe some of it's their fault, and maybe a lot of it's not. You know, maybe some of these things that they're addicted to, maybe they're things that they're physiologically drawn to once they take them. Same thing with a lot of the foods that we eat. And if you ever get behind, you ever get depressed, you don't feel good about yourself, you're just like, oh, what the hell's the difference? The hell's the difference if I follow my diet for today? It just doesn't make that big of a difference, right? You talk yourself into doing something that you shouldn't be doing, and there we are, and things start to unravel. And so a lot of the recommendations I was giving to people, you know, I kept recommending the book, and somebody would be like, well, what the fuck does war, like, none of these people did, but somebody might say, well, what does the war on carbs have to do with Oxycontin? I'm not trying to say that this diet will help solve all your problems, but I do believe that nutrition can be a huge fundamental part that can help you head in the right direction. And I've seen it time and time again, otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it. I've told people before about different dietary changes, and some people are like, you know what? I haven't had a craving for pizza. I haven't had a craving for a candy bar in 6 months. I've had other people tell me I haven't had a craving for alcohol in a year because I cut out my carbs. I decided to do something different, and they just choose to abstain from it.
So when you lost Mad Dog, it wasn't because it was something you were doing. Somebody on the live stream he's kind of giving us some background about how he lost his mom when he was 12. She would, I guess she had a problem with alcohol. She would hide drinks. She would, you know, make up excuses for this and that. Kind of like when you were hoping that you'd see Chris at the airport to take him to rehab and stuff. They did the same thing, but she never showed up. And then, so after that, I asked him if he tried reconnecting with her. He said no, she passed away when he was 12. But since then, he's had a lot of trauma, like, you know, PTSD because of it. Yeah. So what's something, you know, that it was completely out of his control. You know, he was too young to really do, you know, anything. But to this day, he still says that he has a hard time, you know, with like just doing normal things. Yeah. So he, you know, he himself needs to go get help. And you know, so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I asked him, like, you know, so what have you been trying to do? You know, typical run-of-the-mill medications. He tried doing some counseling and stuff, but he said he's still a mess. Yeah, I think you know, it's easy for us to say. It's easy for us to like just give advice to some dude that we never met, and then we'll just be done with it, right? Right. This guy's got to live with it, so it's a tough thing. But I would say that. And he's 22 now. I would say that, you know, don't give up on therapy. You might be able to go to the right person, and it might work out the right way. I'll use my mom as an example. My mom, you know, she's been overweight pretty much since I can remember. I think when I was like around the time I was born and stuff, I don't think she was very heavy, but most of my life, you know, from 10 years old and onward, she's been pretty heavy, and she's somebody who's been really resistant to try to really change anything. She's lost weight before, then she's gained it back. She has a god awful history. I mean, we could sit here all day long and blame 9,000 things on why she's heavy. You know, she was molested as a child. She has child abuse in her family. She has alcoholism in her family. She's got all these things, right? But still, at some point, you have to be a functioning adult that's not an asshole. You have to be a functioning adult that is still kind to people, and you have to be a functioning adult that still wants to try to achieve great things, to do great things for yourself and the people that surround you. I mean, that's the bottom line. And it doesn't matter how horrific the thing is that happened to you. You have to figure out a way to overcome it. And some of us are lucky enough to have parents that are great. Like I was lucky with my parents, but we don't get to choose some of that. But in this guy's case, I think, you know, trying to find something that he can build off of, trying to have some building blocks on whether it be that he starts to box or lift weights or tries jujitsu or fucking tries ultra marathons or rides a bike or anything. Like, even if the guy's like just into like working on cars, like whatever, there's probably something that he's attached to that he really enjoys, and he's probably not making time for it. I see that with a lot of people. So that would be a huge suggestion. Not playing video games, it's got to be something that's like working towards something
something, because like even working on a car, at least it's working on getting all the parts together and like having the thing like go down the fucking street or something, you know. Video game is like, it's not enough going on there, but
staying active, moving.
Yeah, find something that you enjoy and try to do it often. The other thing is, again, I think food's important. You know, I think food is a big piece of the puzzle, and you can get the war on carbs, you can get the vertical diet, you can check. There's a lot of great information on the internet. You don't even have to buy any of those things. You know, look through my Instagram, check out some of the things I've posted recently about the different foods. You know, basically the diet that I posted the other day was red meat, butter, bacon, eggs, bone broth. You can have some vegetables if you want, and have an orange. And like, there you go. Like those things are going to, when you feel shitty, those things will help you feel less shitty. And on your worst day, you can at least say, hey, at least I squatted 200 pounds today. You can say, oh, well, at least I wasn't like everybody else. Like, look at everybody else stuffing their fucking face with fast food. Yeah. And they don't even have an excuse. They don't even have a sad story to go along with it. You know, so I think, you know, things like that can help you refocus. And then also, probably the most important thing, and the one I left out, was not only, you know, therapy is cool, but he's got to start to communicate with some other people around him. If he's not already, he's got to communicate with other people around him. Sometimes we have a significant other that's real supportive, and sometimes we got a brother or hopefully there's somebody for this guy to communicate with, so he can just get some of the stuff off his chest.
Yeah. When Chris was, well, I know you got the phone call from Lauren, but prior to that, were you trying to do anything to show or to kind of like confront him and be like, hey, what you're doing it's not a good idea? Because somebody else was saying,
yeah, these motherfuckers, they lie.
Yeah. And
when people are addicted to stuff, they lie. They'll steal. They'll steal money from your fucking wallet and stuff. Like, I don't think my brother Chris ever did anything like that, but again, they become so different from what they were. You know, my brother Mike was a little bit like Austin Baumgarten. You know, he was a little bit like him, where he had a huge heart. He was like, he was really loving. Like, he would tell you all the time that he loves you. He'd give you a big hug. Like, he was a little bit like Charlie, where he every time he sees you, he's going to give you a big ass,
run up to you, arms.
A big ass hug.
Yeah.
But my brother was big too. He was like, you know, he was probably like, I don't know, 280. So maybe a little bit like our buddy JP that comes rolling through here and hugs everybody, like a big old polar bear, you know? But then my brother had the other side of him where you're like, what the fuck was that? Yeah. I can't believe he fucking snapped that table together because his hamburger had fucking pickles on it. Apparently he doesn't like pickles. You know, so my brother, you know, he had this real sweet side to him. But as he got older, this like little kid that would jack home runs, and this little kid that was this great football player, he had this intensity about him that was perfect for athletics a lot of times. He had a lot of strength, but his weakness was the mental side of things. And when he was faced with a decision to, you know, choose recreational drugs and alcohol and things like that, he chose to go that route. Those were some of the people that he hung out with, and it just did not mix well with his personality, and he lost control. And I remember him telling me, he's like, man, I can't believe I'm in these. He's like, they put me, because he got in trouble for fighting and all this different stuff, so they put him in like all these different anger management things, and he was in like AA, like he was in all these different things, and he was like, I don't belong there. He's like, these guys are a bunch of scumbags that I'm going there with. It's like, man, like, I'm not being judgmental on the whole group, but you're all in the same boat. You're the same as them, and you need to look in the mirror and reevaluate, you know, reevaluate exactly what you're saying. But these people, they become different people. So that person that you grew up with, or that child that you might have that's, you know, going off the rails with whatever drug it is that they're doing, you have to totally understand they are not the same person. It's not like you can say, hey man, you got to cut that out. You can't give them a speech. There's not a speech or instructions or anything that's going to make them come off of anything. They have to come to the realization themselves that they need help. But I think it's in our best interest for these people to say, hey, you know what? Here's the boundaries. Like for me, I got kids. My brother Chris, who I love more than anything in the world, he's not allowed in my house if he's on drugs and alcohol. When he used to come up, I used to put him in a hotel. Now he stays with us. But like, you know, the time that he came up and we put him through the 7 days to help him detox and everything. It was the day after we had an intervention that I was with him the whole day. I was with him the entire day. And I was like, dude, you don't look good. Are you okay? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. And he gets up and he's like stumbling through the whole house and he looks like he's going to like fall at any second. And he's trying to like drink shit out of the fridge, like out of the carton and stuff. And I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, if my kids see this, I'm like, I'm going to knock this motherfucker out because my kids are not going through this fucking shit. So these people, they change and they'll lie to you. He lied to me. He fucking took something that day and he didn't tell me. And then to make matters even worse, when I tried to like talk to him about it, you know, a couple days later, he didn't remember any of it. I'm like, do you have any idea how bad I want to just fucking blindside you in a fucking face right now? So any of you that dealt with addiction before and any of you that have, you know, family members that go through this stuff, or even if you're the person that's recovering from stuff, you have to just have the perspective and have the understanding that people lose control, and it's a very difficult and brutal thing, and other family members are really impacted by it, and they're fucking pissed about it usually. Got any other questions coming through over there?
Just I mean, some of these screen names are not that great, but ADA Toupee.
What's up?
Yeah. He just said that you helped him get off medications, cigarettes, vaping, sugar, and he's in his best mental and physical shape he's ever been in his 27 years of life. So I was like, well, what the hell did he do to change, or what, you know, to help you out? And he just said, speaking the truth, war on carbs, and getting back to the basics, kind of just telling him to get back into the gym and whatnot, and build confidence from that, not to worry about getting down to a certain weight, worry about just doing better every day. And yeah, I think that's fucking cool, dude. Like, yeah,
it's just, it's always the basics. There's no, there's not really a magic thing going on, right?
Yeah.
And you know, like when you look at like Joe Rogan and you look at people that have, a high energy output and they're able to do all these things, I think we tend to look at those people and go, oh my God, that guy's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
How are they able to do this or do that? It's just because they force themselves to do it. And they know that in the long run, it's going to pay off. Like Cameron Haynes, who's been on Joe Rogan a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that guy, he's like, some of this stuff is funny because when you watch it, you're like, God damn, this guy is annoying. When you watch some stuff from some of these people, he's like running. He's got this huge smile on his face. Who runs with a big smile on their face, first of all? He's running, and he's like, I was going to run 5 miles, but said, fuck it today. I'm going to run 20. You're like, oh my God, who says that? But he feels that good because he's making himself do more stuff. The more that you do, the more that you can become.
Right.
And the more that you can become, the more that you can handle. We all have had times in our lives where we really didn't do a whole lot, or we just have days where not much goes on. And you're like, man, that was a like worthless day. Like nothing happened, but
makes you feel great.
even the smallest thing on that day can make you feel tired, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, you have another day where you cranked out 10, 12 things. So, you know, you want to try to get yourself in a routine of where there's a lot of things on your plate. They might not be big things. They might not be things that take a long time. Maybe for the day, you have a couple goals. You want to work out for the day. You want to get in 2 10-minute walks. You want to eat healthy, and you want to finish reading that book that you're reading. And maybe on top of that, you got to go to work. So those are like 5 things. If you can achieve those 5 things, you're going to be kind of looking like some of these people that other people are admiring that look like they're running around with their head cut off doing 97 different things. But if you're not keeping yourself busy, then what are you doing?
Right. Do you keep like a checklist of shit you got to do in a day, or?
I'm not an organized person, so like I don't. You know, I'll write things down, but they're usually not. they're not always like goal oriented like that. Stan, you know, when he was on the podcast, he mentioned kind of like a one touch type thing. I do something similar, and sometimes it fucks me up because, you know, I'll have a lot of emails or a lot of messages or something, and so I know that I won't look at them until I can make a response to them, and so because of that, I try not to even look at a lot of them, and so therefore, you know, there'll be like 700 emails just sitting there or something like that. So I try to make time for stuff when it's time to make time for stuff.
Cool.
Something we heard on the podcast though, that we did with Drew Logan the other day. Yesterday, was it?
Yes. Yeah, yesterday.
See, how weird is that? That was yesterday. That seems fucked up, right? What was yesterday? Monday? Sunday? Tuesday?
What's today? Today's not Tuesday.
No, today's Wednesday. Yesterday was Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know what day it is, Andrew. We're all fucked up.
Yeah.
But Drew Logan said, you know, aim for nothing and that's what you'll hit, basically. You know?
Yeah.
And same thing goes with your planning. You know, if you're not planning ahead, you plan to fail. You hear all these quotes all the time, and I think we just, you know, maybe they're pushed on us a little bit, but these things they make sense. They make sense. You need to have a goal to each day. Anyway, the main reason I wanted to come on here today was just to kind of share some of that information with you guys. I appreciate all the messages that are coming in, and I appreciate all the new fans. There's a bunch of new people kind of scrolling around, poking around on my Instagram, and making comments and asking questions. I'm always here. I'm always gonna be doing this kind of content. I'm always gonna be trying to answer questions and help people as much as I possibly can. The last thing that I'll share with you guys is that it was a fucking honor to be on Joe Rogan. I'm excited to get on there at some other point. And it was awesome just being in the same room as the guy and kind of just watch how he operates. So that was really cool. I've had the opportunity to rub elbows with some greats, you know, Stan Efferding, Ed Cohn, some people that just kick ass in what they do. And whenever you get the opportunity to get around somebody like that, pay attention. Try to pay attention to how they act. Try to pay attention to what it is they're doing. Maybe there's some special traits there that they have that maybe you don't have. Like Joe Rogan couldn't have been any more like direct. You know, he was like, hey, here's this, here's that. You know, here's the restroom, here's the podcast room. Okay, let's go. And he's like, he didn't have a lot of time for small talk. We were there to do a show. He's got a lot of shit to do in a given day. He's done 1,105 or so podcasts, and so he's got to keep moving, right? Yeah.
Well, I was telling Jessica when I got here this morning, I actually really appreciated the fact that he was not afraid to be. I mean, I don't have any other term to call it, but he was not afraid to be a little rude. Not like he wasn't being a dick or anything, but
he's not really worried about being extra like popular or extra friendly. He came over, shook your hand, looked you in the eye, addressed you by your name, right? Yeah. He did all those things.
Yeah. And like, he was just like, look, I got shit to do. Like, I'm not going to be a dick, but like at the same time, I'll see you guys later. Like,
right.
I mean, I don't know. It really inspired me because, like, sometimes I'm in the middle of things and I'm like, okay, I don't want to be an asshole and just walk away from somebody. But I'm like, fuck, he's doing it.
Yeah, well, you get around people that are operating a high level, and you'll just realize how efficient they are. And that's the case with Kelly Starrett and
Jason Khalipa.
Yeah. Jason Khalipa is actually a really good example that he ain't got time for shit.
Yeah, he reminded me a lot of Rogan, or you know, vice versa. I was just like, shit, dude, they're just stick and move.
Yeah, and I wonder if Rogan has kind of the same thing. I never even really thought about that, but that's a good comparison because I think that Jason is that way because he's just got his own shit going on in his head. Yeah. And I think his mind is kind of racing because, you know, like when you're in conversation with him, you'll notice he'll stare off into space and he'll be like, yeah. And then he'll just like walk away. And I'm like, what just happened there? Yeah. Did he even hear what I said? Or
like, did it register? Or like he's kind of like writing it down in his head and he'll get back to you later.
Anyway, that's Mark Bell's Power Project. And that's all the time we got. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. See you later.